Chapter 2. The next day I sat in my usual spot, though much closer to the tree than before. It was raining, so I sought refuge from the downpour under the overgrown leaves. I watched for Natsuki, but aside from a teacher walking out to her car, I saw nobody for all of the lunch period. Instead, I just watched videos in silence. I kept one earbud in, and one out, just hoping that maybe I would hear something. The bell rang and I got up and walked to class. Why did I care to see Natsuki so much? It wasn't like we were friends. I couldn't be stuck in the events of yesterday. I couldn't be stuck in the events of days past. I just needed to take things one day at a time. It was really the only way to make things pass quickly. Yesterday was yesterday, not today. I sat at my desk as the lesson began and I took notes. The lesson was boring as usual and I simply waited for the clock to run out. I wasn't sure why. I mean, when that class ended, another would begin and then the bell would ring and I would go home and do homework and nothing really until I fell asleep. And then I would awake and I'd have to do it all over again. My classmate next to me leaned over and asked for a pencil. I gave him the one that I was using and I just sat at my desk not bothering to take notes. It didn't matter anyway. It didn't usually bother me that much. But for some reason that day, I really just wished that he would say thank you for borrowing the pencil. I wish he would say anything. But no one ever said anything. You could give these people your fucking life and they wouldn't do a damn thing about it. And they wouldn't have a damn thing to say about it either. My last class was literature, and this was probably the most useless class of all. What good did literature do me? It was just a bunch of stories, but whatever. Alright everyone, take your books out and turn them to page 57, announced the teacher as the bell rang. Hey, I left my book, can I use yours? Asked the girl next to me. There's books in the back, I said. I held on to mine, as I didn't really want to give it to her, but she persisted. But the teacher will be upset if I take one of the books from the back because I don't have mine today, she stated. I wasn't sure what had gone into me. I really wouldn't care about this on any other day. I figured with that it was best to just resign and give her the book. Whatever, I said as I handed her the book. Thanks, buddy. You're the best. Whatever that meant. I knew it wasn't what she said. I went to the back and grabbed a book from the shelf by the back closet, and the class entered discussion up until the end of school, at which point the teacher asked that we read the next chapter that evening in preparation for discussion the next day. I walked home alone in the rain. It would seem that maybe I'm the only one out walking, I thought, just as I ran into another two people walking in the rain. I wouldn't really say ran into, as they were actually across the street from me. It was a girl of slightly taller stature than Natsuki, with short reddish hair and a little red bow. She was walking with a man whom I could make out no discernible features of, and they stopped in front of a house and kissed before the man walked off. I stopped and simply looked across the street towards them. The girl didn't move as the boy walked away. She frowned a bit. She then seemed to look over at me from across the street as I gazed on at her, and after a short time she waved. I pushed a slight smile and waved back, gaining a little comfort from seeing her and from her taking notice of me. At last she turned and headed into the gate that sat between the sidewalk and her house, and with that I continued onward towards mine. I got home to an empty house and set my wet bag by the door, heading into the kitchen to eat. I looked in the fridge to find steaks waiting to be cooked, and I took them out and a bag of rice from my pantry. I started a fire in the living room stove, and I sat beside it as the pan heated. The steaks sizzled in the pan, browning on one side before I flipped them over to the other. I thought about Natsuki as the aroma of beef and seasonings that I added wafted through the air, and I finished eating while putting away the rest of the leftover food. However, I packed a separate box with some rice and steak for the next day. I didn't usually eat lunch, but it felt right. Like maybe, just maybe, Natsuki would be there. I knew it was just wishful thinking, but I did it anyway. When I finished putting away the food, I went to my room and sat down to read. I opened my book and started the next chapter. Edna Pontellier began to feel like one who awakens gradually out of a dream, a delicious, grotesque, impossible dream, to feel again the realities pressing into her soul. The physical need for sleep began to overtake her. The exuberance which had once sustained and exalted her spirit left her helpless and yielding to the conditions which crowded her in. I set the book down as I finished the chapter and I crawled into bed. The howling wind outside pounded against my window. I closed my eyes and went to sleep. Chapter 3. The rain continued today, causing me to wear a second layer beneath my coat. I left the house careful to grab a box of rice and beef before. Classes were, as usual, a bore, but more than ever I felt a great urge for lunch to come by already. At last the lunch bell rang and I made my way to the door quickly as I took the box with me before my teacher caught my attention. "Are you going to take your bag with you? You can leave it in here if you don't want it to get wet, but I'll be locking the door for lunch." I looked over at him before going back quickly and picking up my bag. "Thanks," I said as I headed out the door for my spot. I walked briskly for it, pushing past a few people even. However, when I arrived, there was nobody there. I stopped, somewhat disappointed. I should have known that she wouldn't be there. She wasn't there yesterday. She hadn't been there the day prior. I sat down and I pulled out my phone, unlocking the screen. "You don't have many friends, do you?" I heard a familiar voice ask me. I looked up to see Natsuki looking down at me with hands on her hips. "You know, I could say the same thing about you," I retorted, feigning offense. "Yeah, well, I have you," she said as she set her bag down beside mine. I felt my heart quicken at this. Did she really think of me as a friend? If all it took was a meal, then either she didn't have very many friends, or she was very easily won over. My thoughts ended as I asked her a new question. "And who says I'm your friend, huh? Look, I'm doing you a favor here by coming to sit with you, okay? It's not like I wanted to come here. I just thought you might be lonely. Or something like that. I mean, look, I just wanted to thank you for yesterday, okay? Don't get any ideas." She stumbled over her words a bit, but she seemed to stick with that story. I wasn't bothered by this, but I didn't let on to my excitement right away. "Okay, well, if you say so." "So anyway, what do you normally do at lunch?" she asked. She looked off to the side as if pretending not to care. "Not much. I usually just watch videos," I stated bluntly. "On what?" she asked. She was still pretending not to care, though clearly she wanted to know more about this. "Well, anything really. Music, games, anime." I was cut off by her asking. "Manga?" "Well, yeah, sometimes manga too," I replied. "Hey, look, I know this might sound kind of weird, crazy, dumb, I don't know, but I brought some food and, well, I was kind of hoping, I just thought that, well, you know." I held the food out to her and finally stated, "It's for you." She blushed as I brought out the box of food that I'd made for her. Her eyes widened when she saw the food, and though she contained herself as she accepted it, she quickly looked for a place to sit down. The only dry place for her to sit was right next to me, causing her to move my bag out of the way and sit down beside me. She opened the box and started eating. Damn it, I thought. I forgot the juice. She made a face before smiling and stating, "Wow, this is even better than the school food." Well, that's not much of a bar to cross, I thought. "Thanks," I started. No, really, it tastes really good," she stated with a mouthful of rice. "Thank you." I watched her finish the food before she set down the bowl and looked up at me. Didn't you bring something for you to eat? Well, I usually don't eat lunch. Just breakfast and dinner, I replied. Oh, she said, looking down a bit. That's kind of dumb. I laughed to myself, before remembering something. Hey, I hope you weren't upset by me looking at your book the other day, I began. No, don't be. I was just being an idiot. She snapped. An idiot? Well, don't you think that's a bit harsh? I don't think you were being an idiot. Just a bit aggressive, maybe. She looked like she was about to say something before stopping herself. Do you want to read this volume of Parfait Girls with me? Parfait Girls, huh? Well, I don't know much about it. What's it about? I asked her as I set my phone down. Natsuki went into a long rant about the series up until this volume, finishing her monologue with, I'm almost done with it too. Just a few more panels to go. That sounds pretty interesting. But how exactly am I going to read it if I don't have a copy? Oh, no. No way am I going to let you borrow this one. You might fold the pages or something. Here, you can just read it along with me. She opened the manga to the first page, at which I asked, Wait, I thought you said you were almost done with it. You know, you ask too many questions, she says as she leans over my shoulder. She held the book between us in a position where her arm was pressed against mine. By no means am I overly muscular or built, but her arms were rather tiny compared to mine. It made sense, I guess, as she was a fair bit shorter than me, certainly no more than 5 feet. I also felt her shake a bit as she leaned against me. Natsuki? I asked. Are you cold? I'm fine, dummy. Just hurry up and read it so we can get to the good part, she pouted. I moved away from her a bit, and I took off my outer layer and inner layer of my jackets. I gave her my jacket liner and put the damp canvas outer layer back on. She looked flustered before finally closing the book and putting on the jacket liner. I looked down to her legs and noticed that she was still wearing a skirt in spite of the cold, though she did have on taller stockings today, which looked much warmer too. I felt something hit the back of my head. Ow! You pervert! Just because you did something nice for me doesn't mean you get to look at my legs like that, shouted Natsuki. She pulled at the ends of her skirt so as to cover her legs. Sorry, I said as I noticed what appeared to be a bruise just under her stocking. She pulled it up a bit and adjusted her rubber boots that she had on. Yeah, well, look, let's just read, okay? She said as if to change the topic. We only made it halfway through before the bell rang for class. Oh man, she pouted. Damn, that's too bad, I echoed. Yeah, well, maybe if you spent less time staring at my thighs, we could have made it further into the story, idiot. Sorry. Natsuki packed her bag before getting up to leave. I gotta get to class. Wait, I shouted. I'd really like to see you again. Do you think we can see each other before lunch somehow? Natsuki looked down and then said, Well, I guess we could see each other after school. I'm in the literature club. Really? I asked. Yeah. Is there an issue with that? No. It's just, well, I have the same teacher who's in charge of that club, I replied. Huh. Well, anyway, I've gotta go, said Natsuki. Yeah. See ya.